Ladies and gentlemen, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are in the world and whenever you are tuning into this video. My name is James Porcelli.
I'm Bryan Thomas.
And welcome to another very special edition of the Ruthless Talk podcast. Once again, your boys are back together again.
Right.
As it was once again, it's been a crazy past several days. Of course, if you've seen our last upload, our last episode, my man Bryan Thomas went solo. I've had to gone solo, I believe, the previous episode as well. So it's been a minute, and I know there's been a lot of inconsistency with us being on the show together, but trust me, as time goes on, things will start to get normal. As of course, you guys know, we have, shocking, we have lives outside of this podcast, but things will definitely start to get a bit normal on a regular podcast schedule with me as well as Bryan on the show together. So of course, if anything, of course, changes or anything that we have to update, we'll definitely let you guys know through social media and other platforms. So, but Bryan, shout out to you. Want to say great show from the previous show, talking about, of course, your reaction to Bad Blood, talking about Monday Night Raw, as well as a little bit of AEW sprinkled in there as well. So again, shout out to you for a really good solo show. But now for today, we are back together once again to talk about a lot of shit. We got SmackDown, we got ratings to talk about, and we got WrestleDream, AEW WrestleDream that just happened last night, and we're going to go over it. I was not able to pretty much watch this and show its entirety, or hardly, honestly, at all. I was not able to catch most of it, but I do have the results, as I did see some things that did happen in the show through social media, YouTube, and other platforms. So we'll definitely dissect and talk about what we were able to go over the results, as well what I was able to catch from, again, social media and other platforms. So, but before we do such, man, I do want to discuss one little detail in regards to the wrestling world. And this is a certain topic to where I try to stay away from in regards to not just pro wrestling, but just life in general, when it comes to politics and all this other stuff, right? But this is a certain topic to where I feel like it was very necessary to go over and talk about. And Bryan, I would love to get your thoughts about it, but I'll talk about it and mention it before I get to you. So Triple H, who was on the media scrum, press conference, whatever you want to call it, was talking, or had a question about some backlash that he has gotten from certain representation, PLE representation. Of course, you guys know, in today's world, 2024, there's a lot of representation from different cultures, right? From, African Americans to Asians, Hispanics, Puerto Ricans, wherever the case may be. And to a certain degree, it's great. It's really, truly is awesome. And there's been a lot of fans that are kind of just, I guess, upset or feel a certain type of way that there hasn't been a lot of that representation in PLEs. Like, where are, the Montez Fords, where are the Selena Vegas that are representing their cultures in these big PLE, these big stages, and they're just kind of just fiddling around the mid card or filling around somewhere middle of the show.
Not even on it.
Exactly. Right. Or barely even on it. Exactly. And Triple H's response was very odd and just baffling, to where he mentions, I don't see color, I don't see race, I don't see this, I just see pure talent. And here's the thing, right? I understand what he's trying to say, right? Like, listen, regardless of whatever race, whatever, we all want to treat everybody with respect and love, just, and respect people the way that you want to be treated and respected. And I completely agree and understand that. But Triple H, man, you got to be more mindful of this type of scenario, to where, yes, obviously, like I mentioned, we all want to be respected as individuals, no matter what race or whatever culture, whatever we're representing in this world. But there are a lot of people that do care about their certain representation. And you can argue, Bryan, to where a lot of these PLEs that WWE has been putting on is a true example of that, to where you go to Australia, you go to Puerto Rico, you go to Germany, to where a lot of these talents who are from these said places that's representation to give them the spotlight, and it means a lot to them. You see people like Selena Vega, to where majority of her entrances, she's got that Puerto Rican flag, and that, she's proud of her culture and her representation. So for Triple H to say, "Oh, I don't see that," is just a very, very weird response, because that's, unfortunately, whether we like it or not, that's just. And again, it's from a good, or it could be, obviously, a lot of it could be from a good place, but also a lot of it too, to where a lot of people are just like, why does everything need to be about race and this and that? To where I honestly agree, but to another degree, to a different standpoint, you have to be mindful that a lot of these people, they care and they want to make an impact on their certain types of culture. It means a lot to them, and you see what's going on in WWE, to where, yes, you have people like, a Bianca Belair and a Jade Cargill. They're holding on to tag titles, but they're not in anything that's truly creating massive headlines at all, right? You have a Carmelo Hayes, to where he's on SmackDown and he's kind of just fiddling around the mid card. He's not really, in anything, nothing that we truly need or want to see, right? Or another example from in a positive light, like Damian Priest, where, yes, I never agreed that he should have won the world title to begin with, but that's a completely different discussion. But you see how, I believe he was at a certain parade. I believe this was like for Hispanic Heritage Month, and he was at a parade in New York City, to where he's also from, and him holding on to the world title, representing WWE, representing his people. That's how representation, and how much that means to Damian Priest. So for Triple H to say that, it's just like, he's gotta be more mindful in regards to this situation. Now, I do agree, though, Brian, sometimes when it does come to race and things like that, to where I do think that we also have to be mindful in regards to not rushing things, because we try to, and you see this all aspects of entertainment, like in commercials, to where you see like a lot of these like families or kid commercials, they're all African American as well as Black families, right? Which again is great. But I think for a certain society, I think we try to rush things and try to make everything about culture, to make everything about race. And it sometimes blurs the lines to where things just don't make sense. And, that's the thing, right? Because, and again, you see it in all aspects, again, in commercials, entertainment, and where the numbers will prove to you that, even though, which is great, representation, culture, all of that matters and should be very an important detail in this, not just, in entertainment, but in this world, in life. But, this world is dominantly in the white aspect, or Caucasian, whatever you want to say. And I feel like, because we've had for so many years, Brian, we've dealt with racism and all of these aspects for years and years. And I feel like we try to rush things in regards to certain aspects of race and culture and things like that. But so for one aspect, I understand to where people are at a certain point, to where, why does everything need to be about race? Why are we doing the things that we're doing? But on the other hand, representation and culture is a very important aspect, not just in wrestling and entertainment, but everywhere. And for Triple H, just making those comments just did not make a whole lot of sense. And he needs to be more mindful in regards to that certain, what's the word I'm looking for? Just that certain type of detail, I guess. But Brian, what are your takes, man? Again, I don't want to go too much more in detail than that, but just real quick, man, your thoughts in regards to what Triple H had to say, the backlash with representation, culture, and WWE and talents, and just everything else that I mentioned as a whole.
I'll try to keep this as short as I can, because look, I know this is a wrestling platform, but in my personal life, I'm 100 miles an hour the opposite direction of what my people might generally think or do or whatever. Let me start with this. In 2024, look, I come from the colorblind era. That's, to say that we don't see color now in 2024, I mean, it's, you have to recognize it's insulting. White men, stop fucking saying it. You see color. You clearly see color. Stop fucking saying it.
Mm-hmm.
We all see it.
Yeah.
So like, I mean, I get what he's saying, you know, and
Right.
as the head of a corporation, you know, you have to toe the line and be politically correct and not piss off this group of people and not piss off. So yeah, you're in a tough spot. But let's just, as a whole, stop fucking pretending we don't.
Right.
Um, to that, you know, speaking just in general of the wrestling era or wrestling industry, look, wrestling is as as much as over the years it's progressed into sports entertainment as opposed
Absolutely.
to just
Yeah.
some you know, wrestling exhibition, you know, back in the 40s or whatever. Um, wrestling is a representation of, in this case, American culture. In Mexico, Mexican culture. In Japan, Japanese culture. I got to go back to like the Vince McMahon documentary when he's talking about it, you know, getting the belt on Hogan, right? What did he say? He couldn't have Hogan beat Backlund.
Right.
He had to get the belt on
Mm-hmm.
the Iron Sheik and
Iron Sheik.
Iranian
Mm-hmm.
to have the All American hero beat
Mm-hmm.
the evil Iranian.
Right.
That's 80. He look, as genius as Vince McMahon was, he also just played to the lowest common denominator, right? What's going to get reaction? This is the 80s, the Cold War. Japanese are evil, Russians are evil, Chinese are evil. Everybody but American is evil. Look at the movies that were coming out then.
Yeah.
That was the fucking culture.
Yeah.
So he capitalized on it. And yes, it's built in ignorance and racism. 100%. And he, you know, that's what he did. That's, you know, and still the trope is run out today, you know, not as much, not as heavily. You know, you take a guy like Gunther, um, you know, that there's some little aspect, although it's not played up much, of the evil foreigner. Um, so yeah, racism. Look, in the wrestling industry, yeah, it has been about color. It has been about race. America. Look, you want to talk about politics and race and whatever. Race is a goddamn social construct, literally created by my people for the purposes of slavery, of keeping this group down. So to pretend that it's not real, it doesn't exist
Yeah.
in every aspect of our everyday lives, education, jobs, food, all of it. Yes, it fucking does.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, to the wrestling industry as a whole, the wrestling industry is a mirror of society, right? The Attitude Era. It was loud, brash, crude, in your face, fuck authority and fuck you. That was Gen X. That's part of our generation. That appealed to us. Yeah, that's what wrestling is, man. It's gonna appeal to the culture. Um, and I could go down a litany of wrestlers. I mean, Junkyard Dog, Butch Reed, Ron Simmons,
Mm-hmm.
fucking Bobby Lashley, Cedric Alexander.
Montez
Look,
Ford.
Montez Ford. Yeah, Shinsuke Nakamura,
Mm-hmm.
Asuka. You know, yes, yes. This is not solely about talent. It's about talent and marketability. That's what it is. And what's going to be marketable to, it's changing now in the last 20 years, but
For sure.
again, historically a predominantly white audience who doesn't want to see a black champion, who doesn't want to see a Japanese champion that it's hard to understand their English or they can't speak English. That's the reality of it.
Yeah.
So until that changes, and until people are honest about it, like the old tropes of I don't see color, I just bullshit. You see money, you see what is gonna serve the audience,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what you do.
Mm-hmm.
Period.
Yeah. No, for sure. And in regards to like the wrestling industry and with talent, like, there are so many talents that are representing a certain culture that, have the talent to take WWE and
Yes.
this company to new heights, right? I just mentioned Montez Ford. I'm going to mention a lot about, or at
We've
least
been mentioning him for what, going on 2 years
since
now.
this podcast started,
Since it
about
started,
Montez
dude.
Ford. Yeah,
Yeah.
we've
Yep.
spoken so heavily about Asuka, so many times. Bianca Belair, so many of these people that, yes, represent a certain, even to a slight degree, right? Damian Priest, that we've acknowledged that ever since over the last year has improved in regards to his wrestling and his
Yep.
promos and everything about just what he brings to the table has improved tremendously. And it's, yeah, it's just like, it's like he should not be afraid to take some of these people in big spots. And for some reason,
Right.
like you've seen that recently, and no doubt over the last 20 years, like back in the day, right? I mean, Brian, you mentioned like Junkyard Dog, Ron Simmons, or even like a lot of female African
Yeah. Oh
American
yeah. Yep. Yep.
talents. Right now, you see them everywhere. In NXT, you have people like Kalani Jordan, you have Bianca Belair,
Yeah.
you have Jade Cargill, you had you had 4 female Black individuals wrestling on SmackDown just two nights ago. So no doubt it's dramatically improved, and hopefully it does continue to improve.
Right.
But at the same time, how much are they, representing their culture when they're not in that big spotlight, when they're kind of just fiddling around the mid card, when they're just kind of middle tier? When,
Right.
yes, this world, whether we like it or not, it's factually stated, is predominantly white, right? But that doesn't mean to where if something is working with a certain, Black, Asian, Hispanic talent, give them that spot. And that right there is representation in of itself, to where you, like I
Right.
mentioned with Damian Priest, it's evident that not only is it benefiting your company, but it's benefiting these talents and what they're trying to accomplish in regards to their families and their upbringings, et cetera, et
Yeah.
cetera. For people to say, I don't see color, I don't see this, I don't see that, cut the shit. I mean, come on now. So
Exactly.
yeah.
That's my biggest takeaway with all this. Like, I guess you know, I wish more white men in positions of power and
Mhm.
authority, because at the end of the day, this, I don't see color, I don't see race. It's a cop out.
Yeah.
It's a nothing burger. It's saying nothing.
Hmm.
Instead of like fucking like sack up, man. Like, okay, maybe this isn't you, Triple H, but you understand the question and you understand why the question is being posed.
Hmm.
So what are you gonna do to change it?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
don't fucking give out these fucking bullshit.
Yeah.
You
And
know? Yeah.
and there was, I talked, to kind of at least wrap this up, as I do want to get to WrestleDream here.
Yeah.
There was so I made a statement about Andrade, and I remember this was in a segment with LA Knight, to where this dude just got obliterated on the microphone by LA Knight. And I mentioned, like, who in the hell thought it was a good idea for Andrade to be in a promo battle or in a segment with LA Knight, to where he's going to get
Uh-huh.
just completely exposed, right? It just doesn't make him look good. And someone, in regards to, again, I'm not going to mention the creator's name, because I'll be honest with you, I don't remember the creator's name, but mention like, hey, it's about representing a certain culture. And I'm like, cool, that's great. Andrade, again, is another person that is representing a certain type of culture in regards to how he speaks and how he talks or whatever. But I also mentioned that that wasn't my point in regards to what I mentioned about LA Knight and Andrade. My point about Andrade is about being him in that segment, is that he is not being represented or being presented well enough to represent his culture
Right.
and just himself as a talent as a whole, right? I will never
You're
go.
putting him in a bad spot to not make
Yeah,
him
you're
look
just
good.
simply
Yeah.
putting him in a bad spot. And like I said, bro, I will never go against anybody. I am all for, again, representation and representing a certain culture. You will never hear me go against anything like that. But my point about Andrade that I did make several months ago, is that if he is going to be representing a certain type of culture in his company, in his, in his work, like, you got to present him better. To put him out there against LA Knight to just to get obliterated on the microphone, just like, is not making him look good at all. It's just a simple wrestling critique, an aspect of what he is trying or how he's being presented. So I just want to get that out the way too, because I know I mentioned about that, and I remember, talking about this certain type of topic just made me go back to that. But hopefully, again, didn't want to make that too long, or just so. But we appreciate you guys letting us vent about that, because again, I don't like to go on a tangent with things like that, but I felt like that was very an important topic to discuss. So
it is. It's,
yeah,
man,
absolutely.
I mean, really, like the way, and we can move along, but it's really, it's an important topic in life that needs to be,
For sure.
I've never been one to, the old saying, like, oh, we don't discuss politics and religion. Man, politics and religion shape 99% of the decisions all of us make or are forced to make in our everyday life.
Yeah.
People don't want to talk about it because they get exposed, they get their feelings hurt, and I've never been one to fucking care.
Right. Absolutely, man. So, but moving along here, let's get into WrestleDream, AEW WrestleDream. So let's actually talk about some pro wrestling here as we move along into the show. So WrestleDream, right? So again, I did not catch majority of the show. I was able to catch some results and some highlights from the show last night. And Bryan, I want to get your reaction to this. I haven't told you anything prior to the show. So we'll get to Moxley. We'll get to Danielson, as obviously everybody knows that was the big main event. And we'll get to that. And we'll briefly try to mesh everything together here and move along into SmackDown. So Jack Perry defended his championship, his TNT championship, against a New Japan Pro Wrestling talent, Kisakori Shibata. Again, my apologies if I'm mispronouncing his name. So obviously, Jack Perry has defended his TNT championship. Daniel Garcia came out to confront Jack Perry, and then out came MJF. MJF made his return. He waltzed down to the ring. He ends up putting the boots to Daniel Garcia. He gets on the microphone talking shit to Daniel Garcia. It's like, last time I saw you, Daniel Garcia, I beat you without breaking a sweat. As you guys know, MJF has been filming a movie, which is a Happy Gilmore remake with Adam Sandler. There was like a little clip.
I knew he was filming it. I didn't know that's what it was. Oh my God.
That's exactly what it is, bro. Yeah, I'm actually looking forward to seeing how that
I hope he has
trailer
a semi-big part in it, man. Oh my God.
Yes, I'm a huge fan of Happy Gilmore, so that'll definitely bring some good nostalgia. So shout out to MJF for being a part of that. So MJF, he's about to, again, continuing to beat down on Daniel Garcia, I guess just kind of to rehash what happened at All Out in their matchup at All Out. And out comes Adam Cole, baby, confronting MJF as legit, guys, the face. He comes out and MJF is like, oh, what are you going to do? You're going to hobble to the ring. You're on this bad leg. Dude, Adam Cole rushes to the ring. He runs to the ring. MJF hightails it. MJF runs away, leaving Adam Cole, defending Daniel Garcia, or coming to Daniel Garcia's aid. And Adam Cole walks back up the rampway with his signature, Adam Cole, baby, with everybody in unison. And that was pretty much it. So that was the segment. That was it. So that right. And that's why I knew right. And that was my similar reaction, right? At least to a certain extent. And let me start with this, and I'll try to make this brief. Look, I get it. They're maybe trying to rectify everything that's happened with MJF and Adam Cole, everything. And listen, and now, like, I guess you can say this is a double turn to where before MJF took out Adam Cole at Double or Nothing, and he says, that's it, I'm done. He hit a freaking, a pile driver or something, and took out Adam Cole, and that was done. Like, so what is the need for Adam Cole, because he was a heel, what's now the need for Adam Cole to go after MJF? You would think MJF would have more of a desire to go after Adam Cole because he took his championship away from him. And he
Months
legit,
of that whole story of who, and
right.
friendship and
It does not make, and you know what would have made more sense? And I don't know where the fuck he's at. Where's Wardlow? Wardlow and Adam Cole, because there was friction, or they were
Yep.
teasing that friction for quite some time. And what I'm hearing, that Wardlow was in a certain car accident, so maybe that's why. Yeah, so I'm guessing that's why you haven't seen Wardlow in quite some time. So he's recovering from that. Again, I don't know if that's 100% true, but let's say but again, outside of that, for you to try to rectify this story to where you really can't rectify it, because it's been now months and months and months have passed, and you did the turn with Adam Cole and MJF, and now MJF is back as the heel, and it's Adam Cole going after him as the baby face now. Like, what else does Adam Cole need to take away from MJF at this point? He took away everything from him. He took away the friendship. He took away the fucking title. This does not make any fucking sense at all. Now, again, because I don't know how things are going to tie with Undisputed Kingdom, what's going to go along with that. Everything just seems very, very odd in this situation. And I'm going to leave it at that. Brian, with all that being said, what are your thoughts about a MJF return and an Adam Cole return and a confrontation between the two? What do you think?
Well, first let me, and you might not know this, having, you're just reading it. So, okay. So it starts off with Perry and Garcia having this confrontation, right?
Correct. Yes.
And then then does Perry leave, and then it's just MJF and Garcia?
That part that part I do not know. Maybe I would, if I had to guess. Again, I'll dig into my results, as I do have the results from the show. But I believe maybe Jack Perry either did two things. He either maybe just walked off, or he ended up retreating because they both brawled, and then the heel in Jack Perry just retreated up the rampway or through the arena. I don't know. Yeah. So yes, and then that's when MJF came out. So yes.
So everything, like the way you explained it, like every interaction was like a one-on-one interaction, like
pretty much.
There was, yeah, okay. So yeah, I mean, what the fuck? Why? Just, and nothing. The stories you have going now, like, okay, MJF Garcia, okay, that's kind of been like an ongoing, or the last thing that's happened, it makes sense, right? And you just laid out everything between Cole and MJF. Even with the Undisputed Kingdom, like, nothing's been going on there, like that whole fucking thing. Yeah, I mean, it would, like, that story in particular, like, as AEW, as a 5-year-old company, that story, that MJF Adam Cole turn, the devil, who's the devil, everything involved, and how it all wound up playing out. And yes, injuries happened and whatever, but that is the worst fucking story that AEW has done, just because of, if it had all worked out, great, but it didn't, and you keep trying to go back to it. Leave it the fuck alone at this point. Like, yeah, I mean, have a feud with Garcia and MJF, like Adam Cole, like you said, you got Wardlow, you still got the Undisputed Kingdom and shit you could do within them, Roderick Strong and Adam Cole. I don't know, but yeah, to try to go back, and now, yeah, you're right. Like, now Cole, the face, going after MJF for what? Like, you're the guy that fucked him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. By the way, Jack Perry, so the result was that Daniel Garcia rushed to the ring, and then Jack Perry just walked away, I guess, up the rampway, is what it says. And then that's when MJF came into the ring, and that's when chaos ensued and the Adam Cole situation happened. So that's what happened. So I'm guessing you're going to see Daniel Garcia and Jack Perry maybe in a TNT title match, maybe on Dynamite, probably. And so I would have, again, I don't know. I'm baffled, guys. I'm stuttering because I'm fucking dumb.
Even how again, I get it in wrestling terms now that, like, the past month or two, whatever, MJF has been the heel. So in wrestling terms and just the way it goes, like, Adam Cole comes out there and he's the face. But I mean, the last time we've seen Adam Cole, I mean, the last year and a half, basically, he's been a heel, and now all of a sudden, and automatically, the crowd's cheering for him. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
But whatever, man.
it just seems like that
It's where the best wrestle.
That's exactly right. It just comes across that they're just trying to rectify the situation and everything that's transpired.
You can't.
And you can't rectify it at this point now, because it's been months to almost a year now from the turn that happened at World's End last year. And that's where I would think that this match is going to happen, is probably at World's End, which is MJF and Adam Cole. Right. Which, again, if you are going to have this matchup to where, again, whether we like it or not at this point, it seems like that's what's going to happen. Adam Cole looks like he's healthy. MJF, again, I don't know what the situation is with now his movie. I guess he's back now. I guess his role in that movie, I guess, wasn't as long or as
I'm
curated,
sure
I guess.
Like a cameo type thing, or a small, couple scenes.
Yeah. So I guess MJF now is back and ready to do business. So we'll see, man. Again, it's just, I don't know, man. It's just because, again, guys, you can't make me forget what happened months prior, right? That's the difference between. Go ahead, Brian. Yeah,
it's been so long, and it's been fucked up in so many different ways, badly.
Yes,
that's the thing. It's like I said, this is the worst overall story. That it could have been great, and things happen, but this turned out to be shit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's unfortunate. It really is. It is unfortunate, because we thought, like, the whole, the tag team that they had, and we thought, man, that turn and that build to that certain match and feud was going to be tremendous. It was going to feed families, and it was going to be what we go back and remember AEW for years and years now. And that just was not the case. And now they're trying to rectify that. And it's hard to ignite that spark again, which was last year, and trying to reignite that this year when you have people now that's, Will Ospreay and Hangman Adam Page and Swerve Strickland that are now catching fire, that are things that are just a lot more interesting in the AEW television aspect. That's just the truth. And who knows how they're going to do it, but I'm just going to leave it at that. It just doesn't make sense at all for. Yes, I get the double turn. I get maybe you can somewhat try to maybe blur the lines, but for Adam Cole to go after MJF after there is nothing else for Adam Cole to do to get his revenge, so to speak, on
revenge
MJF.
For what?
Right. You took the title from him, right? You completely blindsided him.
Or hit you in the nuts one time or something?
Right. It's like, exactly. You took his devil's mask. You cost him his championship. Like, you would think MJF would have more to get his hands on Adam Cole more than anything. But yet now that he's a heel, nothing makes sense. It's just, and I'm going to leave it at that. But moving on into the show, Jay White and Hangman Adam Page had a match. Jay White won the match, which is interesting. I feel like that match was I feel like the match, honestly, is kind of rushed. Few of these matches in certain scenarios right now in this company feel very rushed to me. With Hangman Adam Page is coming off,
they're dream matches with no story.
Exactly. Like with Hangman Adam Page, he is coming off of really good steam from that Swerve Strickland matchup, and now he's back in the heel again. I don't know what Hangman Adam Page is. I think he's doing a lot of good work, and he's been put in a lot of good segments with Swerve Strickland, and then in that house being burnt down, that whole segment,
right?
And now you put him back as a heel, and they tried to, I guess, protect Hangman because he was selling a knee injury in this matchup. So he was trying to hit the clothesline, whatever he calls his clothesline finisher. And then he countered it, or Jay White countered it into the Blade Runner, and that's how Jay White won the match. The Buckshot Lariat is the name. The Buckshot Lariat clothesline. The knee was bothering Hangman, and Jay White ends up picking up the W. So I don't know. So that's one thing. And Brian, I'll get your thoughts about that later on as we'll wrap up WrestleDream. But and then you have Swerve Strickland. Swerve Strickland returned along with Prince Nana, MVP, and Shelton Benjamin were out there. Swerve Strickland has denied MVP's request to join his stable. So now here's the thing, right? And I'll go try to, again, keep this brief. I do think you're going to see Swerve, MVP, and Shelton all together in this faction at some point. Right. And I do think Bobby Lashley, it will be, I think his return is evident at this point. And I think it's sooner rather than later, to where I guess you'll see a starting matchup with Shelton and Swerve Strickland, and then Bobby Lashley will come into the fray, and then that's how I think everything will kind of start to unfold. So that's what happened there. Is then Swerve Strickland, he confronted both Shelton and MVP, and then listen, and then they both said some words back to each other, and then MVP and Shelton walk off. Decent segment for what it was. So Swerve and Prince Nana, again, shout out to Prince Nana. That's my guy. He follows me on Twitter. And so shout out to him.
Shout out to you, my man.
Yes, appreciate it. Again, I don't know if he's watching this shit, but hey, listen, listen, I'm not a coffee drinker because I know he's got his coffee business going on. Listen, Brian, I know you're a big coffee drinker.
I'll have to check that out. Yeah.
if you want some good coffee, go to Prince Nana. I think Prince Nana
check
Coffee
that out for sure. I didn't know that.
Is the name of his coffee brand or whatever.
So
shout out to Prince Nana. Prince Nana Coffee, I believe it's called, or something like that. Again, apologies if I'm messing up the title of his brand or his coffee brand, but but shout out to him. So yeah, we'll see how this goes, but I do think at some point, Brian, you will see Swerve in this role with this Hurt Syndicate faction at some point. And we'll see in regards to how Bobby Lashley comes into the fold. But I do think you'll see that. And it's going to be interesting, too, because you would think with Lashley, he's going to be in AEW because he wants a more prominent role because he's had his frustrations with Triple H. So it's going to be interesting that if Swerve Strickland is going to be the bulk or the megastar of this faction, then where does that leave Bobby Lashley? Is he just going to be like the Wardlow of the group to where maybe his booking is maybe on and off? Who knows? So there's a lot of questions, but there's a lot of interest, and I'm looking forward to see how it plays out. So, Brian, what are your thoughts about that, man? Before we get to Mox and Danielson, and we'll keep that brief, but what are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, not much to say about Hangman and Jay White other than, so I haven't been, that consistent with AEW either. So is Jay White and the Bullet Club, are they face now? Like how did that match?
Bullet Club Gold has been face for a while now, actually.
Oh, jeez.
I was gonna say,
well, fuck me then.
They've been face. I think it started like a while ago, as them as face. Well, I remember they turned heel on the Acclaimed, and I guess now,
I remember that.
And then Jay White came back not too long ago.
Because he got injured. Jay White got injured.
He got injured, and then he came back to confront Hangman and Page, and now he's a face again. So it's just the flip-flopping of face and heel just is very odd to me. We've done this with Swerve, and we've done this with Hangman now, to where we don't know what these characters are. To where are they good guys? Are they bad guys? And there's just a massive disconnect. But yeah, continue.
Yeah. Getting into like Swerve and all that. Look, I mean, especially with how we started off the show, man, like I can't reiterate, like you got right now sitting over there, at least under contract right now, Swerve, Nana, MVP, Shelton Benjamin, Bobby Lashley. So those five right there. Maybe Cedric Alexander comes, who knows? But you got those five.
Mm-hmm.
Everything we just said. Look, WWE has fucked this up numerous times. You got these guys sitting here right now where you can create one big faction, or you just said, Swerve, denied the request. Maybe Lashley comes back and kind of sides with Swerve, and then, it's kind of MVP Benjamin and maybe Alexander, possibly, who knows?
Mm-hmm.
But however you mesh this, if it's one group, if they kind of feud with each other, this is main event quality talent in your hands right now. Fucking Tony Khan, do something different. Do what should be done with it. Give them the platform. Give them the main event spots. And I don't mean give it to them because all these guys have fucking earned it, and it could be really fucking good.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, man. I mean, it's interesting to see. I too do expect at some point, like Swerve. Yes, we'll join up, and this will be the Hurt Syndicate with at least Benjamin, Swerve, and Lashley and MVP, I guess. But yeah, there's different avenues, different storylines you can go with these guys, and it can be really, really good, man. So fucking do something different, Tony.
Right. And again, it's either that or because I don't know about Cedric, because Cedric right now is in NXT and he's filling around NXT, and I'm pretty sure he's still under contract with WWE. So I don't know if you'll see a Cedric Alexander in AEW anytime soon.
Yeah.
So there's
a lot of guys you could probably throw in there as a third guy that
I've said Will Hobbs, dude. I mean, I don't know if Will Hobbs is still part of frickin' right. If he's still a part of the Don Callis family, I'm not sure. But like, dude, Will Hobbs would be a tremendous addition to this, man.
Yes.
And again, not just because he's a black talent, but like it just fits. Like again, we talk about with Hurt Business.
Dominant fucking. You got Lashley and Will Hobbs, and then Benjamin and
MVP.
Benjamin and Swerve, and then MVP is kind of like the mouthpiece.
Or again, if the plan is to keep Swerve with Prince Nana, it could just be Lashley at the forefront, Will Hobbs, Benjamin, and MVP as the mouthpiece. You can also do that as well. So there's also multiple avenues that you can go with this, because let's say if Swerve Strickland does join forces with MVP in this faction, then where does that leave Prince Nana? Where does Prince Nana then turn to at that point? So I think for now, unless we start to get more names and more talents, I guess, involved in this certain scenario, I think it's still going to be Swerve and Nana together at the helm, going up against people like Lashley and Shelton Benjamin in that forefront.
And that still can be fucking great. Like I said,
still absolutely.
It's the ingredients are there to make magic, man. So
absolutely, man. So it's just, again, it'll be nice if this company can rectify what WWE also fumbled with, as well as Triple H just did not want to give the time to, which is just, again, I still am baffled just to this day about how they had nothing planned for the Hurt Business. They didn't want to rectify or rejoin the Hurt Business, which is just weird. So hopefully this could be, what's the word I'm looking for? Just, again, to rectify all of that in AEW. So we'll see in regards to it. But yeah, Brian, what are your final thoughts?
I was even going to say, you threw out Hobbs out there. I mean, you could keep, put Hobbs with Swerve and have Hobbs, Swerve, and Nana. And MVP, Lashley, and Benjamin.
And Shelton. Right. There you go. So that could be a case scenario too. Again, and obviously it depends on Will Hobbs, because, again, last time I remember,
I haven't seen him in a while.
He was supposed to be part of Don Callis' family. I don't know what the situation is there. I'll have to kind of look more deep into that. But so that's that whole scenario. And then finally, the last thing that we'll mention is Jon Moxley and Bryan Danielson. Again, I won't go really more in detail with the match because I didn't really see much of the match, but Jon Moxley did dethrone Bryan Danielson, as we kind of pretty much expected, as we didn't expect a very long title reign from Bryan Danielson. Wheeler Yuta ended up turning on Bryan Danielson after this matchup. So now Wheeler Yuta and everybody with Moxley, Claudio, and Pac are now, I guess, on the same page. He took the similar plastic bag and put it over Bryan Danielson's face, pretty much suffocating the fucking dude, and sending him off into a stretcher. So this pretty much tells you that Bryan Danielson, as a full-time wrestler on a full calendar year, is pretty much done. Now, I don't believe we've seen the last of Bryan Danielson. I do think that you're going to see Bryan Danielson at some point. I think it's going to be a while, maybe not until this coming following year that you're going to see Bryan
Yeah.
Danielson on AEW television. As well as it was stated that Bryan Danielson, again, this is, I take everything with a grain of salt with people like Fightful and everybody else that throws out there. But apparently that Bryan Danielson, this was the guy, Jon Moxley, that he wanted to give up the title to, was to Jon
That makes
Moxley,
sense. I
which
see
makes
that. Yeah.
sense. And I honestly don't have a problem with it because I think Jon Moxley is great. And
Yep.
hopefully now they can really start to really kick things into high gear. Again, people were expecting Shane McMahon. I don't think that for you to send off Bryan Danielson and to have Shane McMahon appear on TV would make that much sense. I think the
Yeah.
scenario and the timing of it just would be very off. I do think, I don't know, it's just from what we've heard in the screenshots of Shane McMahon, signing some or being in confrontations or being in meetings with Tony Khan, it's coming. Something with Shane McMahon and AEW, I really truly feel is coming. So hopefully maybe it's at Full Gear, maybe it's at World's End. I don't know, but I do feel like for Bobby Lashley,
That'd
going
be
back
great
to
at
that,
World's End. I mean, again, just the name of the pay-per-view.
yeah,
I mean, things like when hell freezes over. I mean, a McMahon in another wrestling company.
That seems like the best case scenario, bro. If Shane McMahon is going to be a part of TV, but I do think that we should be seeing a Bobby Lashley debut before we see a Shane McMahon appearance, if that is the case. As far as the rest of this show goes, and I'll keep it brief, the women's division, I don't understand what we're doing in regards to it. I mean, Mariah May had a match with Willow Nightingale. Didn't Chris Statlander beat Willow Nightingale in a street fight at All Out? And now Willow Nightingale is the one getting this title opportunity. It makes no fucking sense. Now we're turning Chris Statlander babyface. She cut a promo on Rampage saying that, I didn't know what I was after the match with my, I guess, former best friend Willow Nightingale. I now remember who I was, and now I need to go after Mercedes and her TBS championship. Guys, I don't understand what the fuck
face heel turn.
Another face heel. Guys, what are we fucking doing, man, with this women's division? Like, everybody in this women's division, I'll try to keep this short. If your name is not Mariah May, which much love to Mariah May, she's earned her spot. She's doing really good stuff. It's unfortunate that she's not a massive headline in these shows, but she's doing her thing. And Mercedes Moné, which it's so good to see her, get her that respect and love and admiration and the booking, holding on to 2 belts and being the woman in this women's division. But the booking and what she's being involved in doesn't have that same effect. But outside of those two, everybody's booking, Bryan, in this women's division is complete, utter fucking garbage. It really is. Like Chris Statlander and Toni Storm, right? Much love to Toni Storm. But
Toni Storm is in a category all by herself across all women wrestlers right now.
Absolutely, for sure. We can't leave out timeless Toni Storm. Absolutely not. But outside of that, man, like Chris Statlander, Willow Nightingale, Britt Baker, Jamie Hayter. And like all of these females and what they are involved in is not gaining any interest, nor their presentation. Are they a face? Are they a heel? Makes no fucking sense, man. And I don't want to get it twisted, because a lot of people will just come onto this platform and say, "Oh, clearly you're a WWE shield, you're a WWE mark because you're trashing the guys." The WWE women's division has the same exact fucking problem. There's no investment in that women's division if you take away Rhea and Liv Morgan, and the same goes with outside of Mariah May and Toni Storm for the past couple of months. Where is the investment in this women's division? And there just isn't none. So, Bryan, I know that was a lot. That's my final thoughts. And WrestleDream, what are your thoughts, man, with Moxley, Danielson, and everything else from this pay-per-view that we were able to talk about?
Well, I'll start with the women real quick, too. Yeah, there's a lot of talent over there in the women's division. There really is. It's always been the booking and the consistency of it is just the absolute worst, man. So I feel, and it's not even, I don't even feel like, I feel like she could be bigger than she is even right now. I feel like the only person the only female that has kind of gone there and kind of made a name, established, or even risen is Willow.
Right.
Shout out to Willow. Like over the last year, like she really has, come into this babyface role, but I think she could be. It could
Yeah,
be a lot better. Yeah.
absolutely.
Um. And
She's a believable opponent to take that title
yes,
from Mariah
yes,
May. But that's the
yeah,
problem. Like, we're rushing all of these matchups. We're rushing a
right.
matchup with Hangman and Jay White. We're rushing a matchup with Mariah May and Willow Nightingale because outside of the again Mercedes. And again, much love to Mercedes. I love the gal. I love that she's
Hmm.
now like she's getting the respect that she has earned, and Mariah May to a certain degree. Outside of those two and booking those two strongly, there's no consistency at all because
Right.
you're rushing everything,
Everything.
everything, bro. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so that's my take on that. And Danielson, maybe we'll do, talk later more in depth about Danielson, but just, I haven't seen the match. It's definitely one I'm going to go back and watch because when wrestlers of that caliber, man, a Danielson, HBK, Flair, Undertaker, like their last matches are meaningful to me, or
Yeah.
the Ric Flair one was the HBK one, not not the seven other ones he had. But anyway, so I just want to say, to Brian Danielson, Daniel Bryan, thank you for a great career. The memories, the entertainment, the sacrifice in your body for us, man, and
Yeah.
doing something you love. Um, Again, I'm sure it was a good to great match between them two, and Mox. You just kind of feel like, I mean, this is important to Mox as well, So yeah, just shout out to him and his career. And yeah, I too expect that this isn't the last we'll see of him,
Hmm.
but it's the last. I think maybe he comes back in like a GM role or a something like that. But I do think this is you're not going to see him have a match again, or I guess never say never, but I don't anticipate that happen. But
Yeah.
just a couple quick, my two favorite aspects, I guess, about Brian's career, man. The story with the Wyatt family, and of course the Yes
Hmm.
Movement.
Yeah.
Those two. I mean, God, just so good, so good. So, shout out to him. Shout out to Mox. I'm sure it was a great match, and yeah, thank you to Daniel Bryan, man.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, regardless if you liked Bryan Danielson, whether you liked his run in AEW, to where I felt like Bryan Danielson should have held on to that world title ages ago when he was coming across in AEW, you can make that argument.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, because it was weird. Like Bryan Danielson's booking was very odd since he got to AEW, to where I get it. You're trying to put over talent, you're trying to, give them the spotlight, but like you need to do that for the right individual. And I felt like he just did that with way too many people, putting way too many talents over to where, bro, you're Bryan fucking Danielson. You should be still
yeah,
feeling as such, right? And
right.
and when you do lose that big said match, it has to be to the right person. MJF, I thought was one of those people, was the right person because
Yep.
MJF stardom was hot at that time and still is. He's still a big top star now, but still holding on to that title. Ain't no way Bryan Danielson could have taken that championship away from him and put on one of MJF's best matchups that I've seen so far in his
Yeah.
early career in AEW and in his wrestling career as a whole. But yeah, much love to Bryan Danielson, man. It's funny you mentioned the Wyatt family segment. That is something that I'll definitely always remember, as of course
Yep.
somebody like me who's a big Bray Wyatt fan, and Bryan Danielson or Daniel Bryan back in WWE was a
Right.
big
Right.
part of that. Was a big part of that run. Even their
Yep.
feuds when Bray Wyatt was the Fiend at the time, many moons ago. So Bryan Danielson, man, has done a lot of really just a lot of good things. And man, when he's on it, man, he's better than anybody in this industry. He really truly is.
I
He's
mean,
not
there's arguments at points and at years, at stretches. He was the best in the world. Yeah,
absolutely.
absolutely.
And it's not even
Yep.
just his wrestling, right? There's no doubt. I mean, there's no argument that he is legit one of, if not the best, professional wrestlers and ring performers
Technical
there
rest.
is.
Yeah. Mhm.
But it's not just that, man. He has proven over the years since NXT. I'm talking way back when NXT first started to where he is now, man. Like he has evolved into a true just an art of his craft, and just his selling, his in-ring psychology, his promos have gotten
Mhm.
10 times better over the course of a decade. And
Yep.
just shout out to him, man, for somebody that I'm sure going into it to where not a lot of people, overlooked him as just this, B plus player, just going back into the whole storyline with the Authority, right? To where he is
Just
now. And it's just,
yeah.
it really is really, really
'Cause
cool.
wasn't his main roster debut in WWE? He was Nexus, right? That the main roster debut, or was he there
That was,
beforehand?
yes, well, that was the Nexus. He didn't really last long in the Nexus, but he was I think
Right,
he
but
was,
that was his.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, he was
So I
part
mean,
of the
yeah,
Nexus, and
from that
he
to
got
where he
kicked
is
out.
now.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah, he got kicked out of Nexus, and then he was part of Team Cena. That was like in 2010 at SummerSlam. I remember that match. It was Nexus against Team Cena. Daniel Bryan was a part of that, and that started Daniel Bryan's big solo run with the U.S.
yeah,
title and working his way up to the Money in the Bank briefcase and then to the World Championship, and then the rest is history. But yeah,
yeah,
much love to Bryan Danielson. Much love to Brie, his wife, and his family, his kids, and
yep.
just prayers for a speedy recovery. As I'm sure at some point I think you will see Bryan Danielson on I was going to say WWE on AEW television. But it definitely will be a while till that probably happens, as this was definitely a sign off from
Yeah.
Bryan Danielson from TV, and now we can focus on Moxley and this said group, and maybe Shane McMahon coming at World's End. That would be very fitting to do such if he is a part of all of this. So we'll see in
Yeah.
regards to it, man. So, but I do want to mention the ratings from last week, as they were head to head with NXT last week, and very eye opening. Very eye opening, as obviously you guys know that
So hold on.
NXT is
Dynamite
now.
was head to head with NXT. I'm sorry.
Yes,
Or
on
okay,
Tuesday
okay,
night, just this past week because of the MLB
right.
playoffs, so they had to go to Tuesday night to go head to head with NXT. And boy, was it not pretty. It was not pretty for AEW. It was an 800 some odd thousand for NXT. And guys, the number for AEW Dynamite was 329,000. That is the lowest that
Oh,
AEW has ever produced on a live television show for Dynamite.
dude, I thought
That's
you were gonna say like I was like, all right, maybe like 500,000 or something.
No,
Like,
bro.
holy, that's
We're going down to Rampage and almost Collision numbers, bro. It's that bad. And I get it, guys. Look, they have this deal with Max and this streaming
right.
service, which is good for them. But guys, I will not hesitate to still say that these ratings, matter, because you want to also gain as much viewership going into this streaming service going into 2025, to where you can stream all of these shows through that. I believe it's called Max. I believe is the name of the company. But yeah, you would think, right? Because oh well, they're going to this streaming service. The ratings don't really matter anymore. No, guys, it still fucking matters, man. Because you want, as I'm sure Max does, as well as their partnership with AEW, they want as much eyeballs to whenever that time comes when AEW does go to Max in the streaming service, as much eyeballs to the product as possible. And you're telling me that now that AEW is bringing in, or this head to head was 300 some on thousand. Now, granted, it's never going to go that much lower as they go back to Wednesday night,
Yeah,
but
right.
still, man, and
Yeah.
this is a problem that I have with AEW, and I'll leave it with this. The problem with AEW, right? We talk about the inconsistency of the booking, the inconsistency of the stories. The wrestling, yes, is at an all-time high. But the problem is with Tony Khan himself and the way he books, and is just that he rushes into things way too much. Rushes way too much. And not even just the storylines, Brian. I'm also talking these other shows, Collision and Rampage, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, but when Monday Night Raw started, I think it was like another 5 or 6 years before SmackDown even became a thing in
Oh yeah.
1999. And the fact that Tony Khan has
Even longer
rushed
than that, because I mean, Raw was well, yeah, because I guess Raw was what 92,
93.
93 ish. Yeah.
93. I think it was January of 1993 was when Monday Night
Yeah.
Raw was
Yeah.
released. And I think it was somewhere around 1999 that SmackDown
Yep.
became a thing. So that's like you're talking 5 to 6 years. It took years for Vince McMahon,
For
whether
a
you like.
company that was already,
Yeah.
a 50-year-old company. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it took Vince McMahon and many other suit and ties to develop a secondary show that was SmackDown, and for Tony Khan to also produce Dynamite as well as Collision and Rampage and all of these shows. It's just like I get it. You're trying to be the alternative to WWE. You're the said
Mhm.
competition. But for you to try to rush out your product, like you need to master one thing. And the one thing that they needed to master was AEW Dynamite itself. Master that, maintain over 1 million in regards to viewership at that. And then we can start talking about multiple shows like a Collision and a Rampage. But Tony Khan, over the span of several months to a year, several years now, has
Got 3
rushed things
shows.
way too much. 2 to 3 shows, right? And now these storylines are also evident to where we're rushing matchups with Hangman and Jay White, with Willow Nightingale and Mariah May. Now with trying to rectify, storylines with MJF and Adam Cole, like, and it's all just doing way too much in a shortened amount of time, and that's what's hurting Tony Khan. That's what's truly hurting AEW right now. You master one thing. If you can master one thing, to where that's what WWE had to do with Monday Night Raw for several years, and then boom, you bring in SmackDown, in 1999, and then you go from there. But with AEW, man, they're trying to do way too much in a short amount of time. And that's where, Brian, I really truly feel like that's the inconsistency right there, is
Yeah.
rushing everything. So, but that's it. But I'll end it with that. Let's get into SmackDown, as there's a lot to talk about with SmackDown here. So first things first, man, I will talk about this United States Championship match that was between LA Knight and Carmelo Hayes. Of course, LA Knight won this match. Very simplistic match. The match was only 8 minutes long.
Yeah.
If you take away the commercials, this was only maybe a 5-minute match or so. Andrade was at ringside talking shit with Carmelo Hayes. LA Knight retains his championship, as he should. There's no way you're going to take that title away from LA Knight and put on Carmelo Hayes. Absolutely not. Guys, here's my problem with this, right? I mean, again, a title match that's in the middle of SmackDown, that's one thing. That's another baffling fucking thing. The another thing is with Carmelo Hayes that I just don't understand. And I get it. He's had really good chemistry with Andrade as of late, and he's put on decent matches. And yes, you have to play to Carmelo's strengths. But guys, his legit gimmick is that Mello don't miss, right? That's that he's him. He legit calls himself him. Guys,
I am him.
he's had 20 matches on the main roster. He has won 6 of them. He has 6-14 in his first 20 matches on the main roster. But yet this is a character that calls himself him, that he doesn't miss. But majority of your matches, 70% of your matches, you have
Swinging and
missed
missing, homie.
tremendously. You are fucking Draymond Green from the 3-point line, bro. That has been your shtick. So yeah, bro, it just doesn't make sense. And now you're gonna what? You're gonna throw in Andrade back into the fold. You're gonna throw in Santos Escobar, who's also trying to get his hands on the United States title. He wants a crack at the United States title again. So we just gonna throw all these motherfuckers in a fatal 4-way, guys. Come on, man. And then this is the problem I have with LA Knight specifically, to where now you have Cody and Roman back on the show. Roman's going to be on this show at least for the next several weeks in the month of October. Where does that stand for LA Knight, man, when you have 2 of your biggest baby faces on the same fucking show, and it's going to overshadow LA Knight and what he's doing because it's just middle tier and it's not helping LA Knight? And that's pretty much all I got. Brian, your thoughts, if any, with this United States title match?
Well, I'll keep it to Andrade mostly. I've said this from his return back into WWE, man. That initial return, the presentation, his outfit, the dude was in the by far the best shape of his life. Like, I think the dude is decent on the mic. Like, I've always been a fan of Andrade, and yeah, I just feel like he's another one of those guys that, like, He could be world champ. He could be main eventing. You know, he could be in and around the main event picture, but he's always going to be around the mid card.
Mm-hmm.
And I see this a lot. AEW and now WWE is starting to get into it. Like, what is this deal with? Like, we're treating like a best of 7 series, right? Like, why are we doing this with come on, man. So yeah, I mean, Mello, like, if I'm being honest, like, I think ultimately Mello will be fine. Like, I don't expect any big things from him, in the next year and a half. You know, he's just going to kind of be in there in the mid card, learning whatever.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's Andrade, man. Like, what the fuck are you doing with Andrade? Because this is bullshit. So
Yeah. No, I mean, and
I
dude,
don't know.
it's just it's so odd, and I'm telling you, man, because like Andrade's already had his match with LA Knight, Santos has already had his match with LA Knight. I'm telling you, the next step is to throw all of these motherfuckers in a said
Yep.
fatal 4-way title match. And you know
Yep.
what's fucked up, dude? Speaking of this 7-match series, bro, imagine if this 7-match series ends with like a DQ, and then that's how we get to this. So
A double
what was
count
the
out.
what was the fucking point, man? To get to the 7th match and it ends in a DQ. It's tied
Or
3-3.
you know what? Even better, like somehow both men's shoulders will be down, and
Right, yeah,
count to
that
3.
type of that type of
Yeah,
finish, man. Fucking
right.
Christ, man. Listen, bro. Again, we can banger matches, guys. Both of us have said it can only go so far, right? We've done this with Mello many times now. It's where he was put on the map against Finn Balor, right, in a match with Finn Balor. He's done it with Randy Orton. He's done it with countless of main event caliber stars. And yes, you showcase the wrestling, but if you're doing this 7-match series, like, again, if you've seen one match with Andrade and Carmelo, you've seen everything that you need to see at that point. And it just doesn't make it's just so fucking odd to me. I listen, if you're into that, much love to you. That's great. I'm glad you're enjoying the product, but for some people, man, like, again, it can't just be all about just, again, the wrestling and just the banger matches, man. It can't be, bro. Like, you got to, for you to just put on the same type of match with the same amount of people, like, what else is fucking different, man? It's like a remake of Friends or The Office. Like, what else do I need to say?
And the thing is, too, it's also like you have these 7 matches in what a 2-month span.
Yeah,
it's
pretty
so
much
oversaturated that, like,
yes.
Jesus Christ, like, I don't want to see these two guys near each other, man.
Yeah, seriously,
like,
bro.
if you wanted to have these guys, and I'm sure they'll wrestle again, but like 7 matches
Oh,
over
for
the
sure.
span of a year,
yes.
Fine.
Oh yeah.
But over 2 months, goddamn.
Yeah. They were in there was a segment, like, I think it was a week or two ago. They were in a brawl segment. I thought it was one of their best brawl segments that they've had since they've started, I guess, this whole interaction backstage. So they've had their moments, but it's just
for sure.
I just feel like it's just very repetitive in regards to match quality and just where we're going with it. But anyway, moving on. Let's get to the ladies, man. The ladies, you had Nia Jax and you had Tiffany Stratton. Of course, Nia Jax is pretty much threatening Tiffany at this point to cash in her briefcase on Liv. She's cutting a promo on Liv because they're fighting for this fucking crown jewel championship, as well as the men are doing the same thing with Cody and Gunther. I'm not going to speak about that anymore. You guys know how I stand on that. So pretty much threatening Tiffany, like, hey, like, you're cashing this briefcase on Liv Morgan, so that way we both become champion. Naomi interrupts. She walks out and she kind of steps up to Nia. She wants a matchup with Nia, and we end up getting a matchup with Nia Jax and Naomi. And Liv Morgan, Raquel, and Dominic Mysterio come out. All fucking Raw superstars, because what brand split?
Because the crown jewel thing.
Because right, because again, I don't fucking know. Anyway, so you pretty much have these Raw superstars that are coming on to SmackDown, which, yes, Brian, because of Crown Jewel, but they're just showing up on SmackDown just to show up on SmackDown, which makes no fucking sense. You have this matchup with Naomi and Nia Jax. Liv Morgan ends up getting involved. She takes Tiffany's briefcase and lightly just taps Nia Jax on the top rope. That's enough for Nia, or I guess Nia Jax, to get stunned or whatever. And then Naomi hits like a power bomb, a said power bomb off the second rope to Nia Jax, pins her in the middle of the ring. 1, 2, 3. And Naomi picks up the W. Naomi gets a big victory. So I love that to that aspect. Yep. Afterwards, it just continues to become a bunch of what the fuck, as Rhea Ripley ended up making her way down the rampway, brawling with Raquel and brawling with Liv Morgan, another said Raw superstar. They all enter back into the ring, sending all the heels, Raquel, Liv, and Dominic, down the rampway once again. Guys, I don't know. Like, again, with Raquel and Liv, especially for Raquel, right? She's supposed to be this muscle for Liv, correct? I mean, that's pretty much what it is. Right. And she got through Raquel with fucking ease and got straight to Liv. Like, so how much is she reliable as a muscle, really? It's just the booking of just continuing to make, I get it. We got to make Rhea Ripley look strong, but she's also the face, man. You got to make the heels also look just as dominant. For Rhea to just run through Raquel like that was fucking odd. The fact that we have all of these Raw superstars on SmackDown with zero explanation at all, it's just, again, this brand split, bro, needs to fucking end, because clearly the WWE either two things: they don't know how to make it make sense, or they just don't care anymore. Just throw out Liv, just throw out Raquel, just throw out Rhea Ripley, and people will fucking eat it up, and that's it, man. So, Brian, what are your takes, man? Naomi, right, getting a big W, that's always great, but of course, everything else, man. What are your thoughts about it?
Yeah, I mean, even to Nia's promo in the beginning, I really liked it, man. Even to where she's like, and then what? It's Tiffy time, and she like grabs her in the headlock. I mean, it was good, man.
It was good,
And then yes, I mean, the biggest takeaway is Naomi getting that win, and what that I hope means for her. Like, I'm just trying to. I don't even know how it's going to go for her, but just, man, yes, that was a big win over the champion. Man, you got to make this mean something. You gotta do something with Naomi here, man. Like, seriously. So yeah, that was my takeaway. That was great for Naomi. I'm really hoping they go forward with that. And then everything else that happened afterwards was what the fuck.
So,
but
it was
really hopeful for Naomi.
Mm-hmm. So, it was a good old-fashioned circus, is what I like to call everything that happened afterwards, bro. It's just, again, the brand split, bro. It just end it, brand. It just fucking end it, seriously, because clearly, again, this company doesn't know what to do with it, or they just don't care. They'll try to, I don't know, maybe next week they'll try to make some sense out of it, try to blur the lines, because that's just what this company does. It's such a detriment.
How long do we have till Crown Jewel? When is that?
November 2nd, I believe, which is on a Saturday.
So we're still like 3 weeks away.
3 weeks away from that. So we're trying. So you're trying to tell a story with two fucking heels. You're like adding all of these.
If you were gonna do that, like, why not just make it? Because you're not gonna tell a story. Just have the SmackDown before the pay-per-view. They come out there, we got do it there, but like a month beforehand, god damn it.
No. and they've already, and they teased it too with like Cody and Gunther already, as I'm sure you'll see maybe a glimpse of that too as well. It's just, guys, like this gimmick championship that's not even going to be a thing over the next several weeks after this fucking pay-per-view makes no sense at all. And again, it's heel Liv against heel Nia. You throw in a Rhea Ripley out there. You throw all these Raw superstars out there on a SmackDown exclusive show. Make it fucking make sense. I don't understand it at all.
I'm also wondering what are they doing? Because I'm assuming now that they're going to do this every year at Crown Jewel.
Yes.
So in the meantime, until next year, what is this? Whoever wins the match, I'm assuming Cody, obviously. And the women, I don't know. But what are they? So he's just going to come out there with this title too, and like what?
I don't know. That's the thing, bro. It doesn't, bro. They do this a lot at Crown Jewel events, bro. They've done it with the Greatest Royal Rumble event. They've done it with Shane
Yeah,
McMahon when he won the Best in the World trophy. So they've done this a lot with many different
right.
scenarios. To where over the course it's kind of just like a fart in the wind because it's not. I mean, obviously the Shane McMahon thing was more, I guess, memorable. I mean, for me because I really like Shane McMahon. But outside of that, man, it's just like it's an exhibition PLE. It's meaningless.
Yeah,
Like what's the fucking
yeah.
point? And for Gunther and Cody's sake, like that's a match for a WrestleMania. Why
God,
are you
I hate
wasting that?
that. That I really hate that
I
they're
can't
having.
stand it
Yeah,
either, bro. It's fucking so
yeah,
stupid. So anyway, that's a different discussion again for a different day.
right.
Let's get into Kevin Owens, man. Kevin Owens.
Yeah.
This was a women's title, a tag title match coming up. This was Jade Cargill, Bianca Belair defending their titles against NXT talents. You had Jakara Jackson, I believe is her name, and Lash Legend, which, by the way, didn't even last more than 2 minutes. That was also fucking weird. Michael Cole is like, you can't deny the performance that they just put on. What performance? The last 120 seconds? the amount of seconds that they were flat on their back looking at, like, what fucking performance, bro? Like what what the fuck, man? It's just so odd. That's your first impression of Lash Legend and Jakara Jackson. So the next time they do debut on the main roster, oh, that's right. Didn't you lose to 2 minutes to Jade Cargill and Bianca? Guys, come on. Now, listen, I'm not saying they needed to go 10 plus minutes with those ladies, but I mean, my God, man, it's just so fucking weird. Anyway, that's again a different discussion. Kevin Owens, before the match even started, pretty much was hijacking the show, cuts a promo talking about Cody Rhodes. I didn't turn on Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes turned on me, and they're cutting off his microphone. He tries to use the commentary headset to try to speak his case, to no avail. They cut that off. Cody Rhodes is running down the rampway. Security officials are all getting in between them. And then we go backstage. You got Randy Orton. Randy Orton was actually in the middle of it beforehand. He's in the middle of it. He's like, listen, I'll talk to KO. You chill out. Stop. I got this. And he's trying to calm down KO. KO ends up elbowing him straight in the face with all the other security. And Randy Orton's like, oh, you done messed up. And he just punches him right in his mug. And then Orton's in like this distraught to where like, why did I just do that? Like, I need to be better than that. So where Orton is in this position now where he's trying to be, you know, the voice of reason, right? The peacemaker, the voice of reason, the peacemaker here. And he's like, damn it, I should not have done that. And well, Kevin Owens scurries off. And then backstage you had Cody, Nick Aldis, and Randy Orton. He's like, listen, you know, I'll deal with Kevin Owens. You got a big title. You got a big matchup with Gunther at Crown Jewel. You take care of this. Gives them the championship.
A month from now.
a month from now, right? I'll go handle Kevin Owens. Now, later on in the show, now there was some banter with Street Profits and DIY. As much as I love Montez, I don't give a fuck. I truly don't. But Nick Aldis hears some commotion, and he goes over, and Kevin Owens is beating the shit out of Randy Orton. He's stomping a mud hole in him. And again, officials, security try to break up Kevin Owens as Orton is laying down or just left where he stood. And that was it, as they're trying to escort Kevin Owens out of the arena, out of the parking lot area. And it leaves a lot of questions, man. A lot of questions here to where is so obviously, right? I mean, again, this KO turn, you can look at it for Kevin or for Cody Rhodes' sake, getting away from the bloodline. If this is a way for Cody to get away from the bloodline, I'm all for it. Yep. But I don't know, man. I can't help but think that Randy Orton is behind all of this. I truly do feel that way to a certain degree. Now, it could be the fact. Now, this could go different ways. To where, number one, I think Orton and KO, maybe they both are fed up with Cody, to where I guess they're going to try to plant some scenario to get back at Cody Rhodes, or Orton is being very genuine within his actions, trying to be there for Cody, trying to defend off Kevin Owens, to where once Kevin Owens and Cody Rhodes is all said and done, that's when you do the Orton turn. Now, all of this, honestly, is going to come down to The Rock, because, again, you can justify in regards to a Orton and Cody match. This needs to be at like a WrestleMania or a Big Four said type of setting, because with The Rock, and there was some weird rumor by Dave Meltzer that, The Rock, because of his schedule, he's not going to be a part of WrestleMania. It's complete bullshit, by the way. And The Rock even also confirmed that, like, I don't believe in that bullshit. That doesn't make any sense. So I was right there, as I'm sure a lot of people kind of put two and two together. That doesn't make any sense. Like, why would The Rock not be there for WrestleMania? So Cody Rhodes and Rock, that's going to be a thing. So I don't know if they're trying to put Kevin Owens now in this heel role, and then when the timing's right, let's do KO and Cody, and then turn Orton heel after that, to where you're finally giving Cody Rhodes some heels to defend against or fend off against, and then let Roman deal with the bloodline on his own with his cousins, the Usos, and we'll get to that. So if to that degree, I like keeping Cody and Roman separate. That's what should be happening. And there's a lot of scenarios you can plant, but you can either say it's just Kevin Owens' bidding, or you can also say that that Kevin Owens and Orton are in cahoots, to where Orton is kind of manipulating this whole situation, because you can't trust the Viper, bro, right? You can, that's kind of the old saying about Orton's gimmick, his shtick. So again, there's many different ways you can go about it. Again, I actually did like Kevin Owens turning on Cody the way it was done, because we've seen so many Kevin Owens heel turns. And I think if you were to do this on TV, and Brian, you've said it before, you would do this turn on TV with Kevin Owens, then how much different is that going to be when Orton turns on Cody Rhodes? So at least you're doing something different and applying social media to tell these stories, which to a degree I like a lot. So Brian, what are your thoughts, man, about this whole Kevin Owens, Cody Rhodes, and Randy Orton situation, man? What do you think?
Yeah, right now, I love it. Absolutely fucking love it. Number one, because I know it's not going to happen immediately, but this has got to lead to Cody getting away from the bloodlines. Got to.
Yes.
So that's number one. Number two, like, again, you just mentioned it too. The way they did KO's turn, and the way they're doing it with, they're presenting it as, well, I mean, they're smart. Like, yes, I guess all the footage that we've seen, at least, of the KO thing was fan footage, right? Because they know fans are going to be out there,
right?
And now they're like barring KO and cutting off the mic. I love the way they're doing it.
Yeah.
This is how I kind of see, or I guess even how I'd hope it play out. But I think it's a route they could go, because this has got to lead to a Cody and Orton match down the road.
Yes.
Right now, no. I think Orton's being genuine. I think he's trying to just keep the peace.
Yeah.
As much as we just talked about, like, Mox being like the right person to take the belt off Danielson.
Mm-hmm.
There's an argument to be made. KO beating Cody, doing so with, like, this is going to go on for a little bit, right? Orton's going to be in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
KO and Cody have that match, and then is when Orton kind of screws Cody for KO to win that title. And then you get to Orton and KO, or Orton and Cody. But the problem is like you're saying, that is a main event match, and so is The Rock and Cody. So is, well, I guess we don't need to see Roman and Cody anymore, but there's
at least for now
about the triple threat of The Rock, Roman, and Cody, and if that is the case, of course that's going to be the main event. But no, right now, I really like how they're doing it, man, and how the stories could all intertwine. Like,
Yeah.
Even KO being the one to beat Cody, you know, as KO is not Sammy, not Orton, not Cody. KO is the one that has been fighting the bloodline nonstop for 4 years. It's been KO.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you could even tie that aspect, which they are kind of.
Oh, for
That's why he
sure.
turned, because he's pissed that you know he's helping Roman. But yeah, I like it. I like the possibilities of the stories they could tell. Um, and number one, just getting Cody away from the bloodline. But
Yeah.
yeah, right now, it's good, man. I like it.
Yeah, no, and I agree to that absolutely. But yeah, there's multiple things you can tell, and it kind of all started with to where Cody has shown his respect and his allegiance, at least for a short amount of time, with Roman. To where,
Right,
like, bro, like I've been defending off of this fucking group for 4+ years, and here you are teaming with the head honcho of that said group. Like, what are you
right.
doing? As far as Kevin Owens taking the title from Cody, I would much prefer to be Orton. I think Orton in regards to, and I go back to again, I don't want to like compare it in AEW scenario, but Mariah May and Tony Storm, man, like Mariah
Mhm.
May, like you can't tell a better story between both two individuals who have such a tremendous history. And yeah, you could say that to an extent with Kevin Owens and Cody, but with Orton and Cody, man,
Yeah,
going back to legacy, going back 10+ years, I don't think there's going to be another story to where it's going to be as impactful, nor as the title change is also going to be as impactful to give Orton that one last big run that I know he has left in him. And I really think that in regards to like a Mania type of scenario, that's where I truly believe, until further notice, Orton should be the guy to take that title away from Cody Rhodes. And if it is Kevin Owens, it depends on how they do it. It depends on
mhm.
how, again, if it ties into it Orton Cody feud, because I get it too. It doesn't necessarily need the championship because at that point the feud would be bigger than the said championship. But you could say that for a
Right.
lot about a really good title defenses and matchups to where the story is so good you forget like, oh shit, there's a title involved, right?
Yeah,
So it just, but I agree with you. I love what they're doing right now in regards to, again, just the majority or the most important thing is that it's keeping Cody away from Roman Reigns and the bloodline. I think that that's the
yeah,
most important thing right now. And it's just how are they going to execute this, I guess, upcoming, I guess, or this continuing feud or this continuing story with KO, but also how they execute this heel turn with Orton and how it's being done is also the question because it's coming, bro. I really
yeah. Oh
truly feel
yeah,
like it's
yeah.
coming to
And
where
it has
whether
to. It should. Like
yeah,
you have that has to
whether
happen
yeah,
before. Yeah.
absolutely. Whether again, if it is Orton being genuine, which could happen, there's no doubt. Again, I feel like it's two sides of the spectrum. Either Orton is being very genuine, he is trying to be there for Cody Rhodes and to try to get into Kevin Owens' ear, like, hey, I'll talk this out, just leave it to me. Or he is behind all of it, working with KO simultaneously. Either or, it's really good. It is really good.
Hmm.
It's keeping Cody away from the bloodline, and we shall see how this unfolds, right? Because again, and it kind of goes back to what I've stated many moons ago when I went solo on this podcast. Again, Orton is another guy to where you can tell this to where he's been there for Cody Rhodes since Cody Rhodes has come back as well. Maybe not defending
Yep.
off the bloodline. Well, he has been fighting with the
Yeah.
bloodline, but not defending for Cody. But here he has been defending with Cody, and he's got nothing to show for it. So where Orton just snaps and he's like, I'm done. So however they do it, I think for now, as of right now, they're doing a really good job with it. I thought the turn at Bad Blood was really good, utilizing social media to their advantage and executing that on SmackDown. And we shall see where this goes, man. I think Kevin Owens as a heel
Yep.
right now, to where he can play both, but a heel
Hmm.
Kevin Owens, and with the lack of heels on this show, it's much needed for sure. But yeah, Brian, your final thoughts about it.
Just one more thing, and I don't think this is necessarily going to happen in like the next week or the next month or whatever. But there is one more person that I do feel somehow, some way is going to be also inserted into this.
Hmm.
and that's Seth Rollins.
Yeah.
I don't know when or how or whatever, and he also does have an allegiance, a history to Roman, so who knows what
Yeah.
side he's going to fall on.
Yeah. And we
But I
talked
do
to,
think,
yeah.
yeah, because he
Because,
also played a big part in that, in Cody winning, like, winning that title, maybe the biggest one of all, considering his health at the time. So I think he's gonna, not right now, because I think Bronson Reed, and I think that could be good too. But
yeah.
down the line, I think Rollins is going to be involved somehow.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And we mentioned it when he made his big return on Monday Night Raw. Like there was a
Yeah,
lot of things that you can plant with Seth Rollins that are very intriguing. Number one is with Bronson Reed. Number two, obviously, is with CM Punk. They've already planted that at Monday Night Raw last week. But
yep,
also with Roman and Cody in this situation, we mentioned it. Like you got it, and he even mentioned it too
yeah,
on in his
yep.
promo just
He
last
kind of
week.
like pulled down his glasses, like, what the fuck?
Yeah, like what's going on
Yeah, yeah,
exactly. So you know that he's gonna have his hand in the cookie jar at some point. And we
yep,
mentioned how like for Seth Rollins and his return, like it leads to a lot of intriguing stuff moving forward.
yeah,
So absolutely. And again, if they do it right, man, if it's done right, if it's presented right, it definitely could be really good for sure.
yeah.
But as long
Mhm.
as it keeps again Cody away from the fucking bloodline and just let Roman do his thing as the said babyface with the Usos and whoever else is involved, Jacob Fatu and others, then I'm all for it, bro. That's pretty
Yep,
much
me
it.
too.
And speaking of the bloodline, that's going to be our final topic for today's show. So let's start off with the opening segment. Opening segment was Jimmy Uso, right? Gets a decent little reaction. People are happy to see Jimmy Uso back. And he talks about going after Solo Sikoa. And then Roman Reigns comes out. He talks about we need to acknowledge somebody, and that person is Jimmy Uso. And then Jimmy Uso gets his acknowledgement from Roman. He tries to do like the whole like microphone hand pass thing.
Right.
And then like Roman's like, all right, moving on here. I ain't gonna do that to you. I'll give you your acknowledgement, but I ain't gonna do that for you. But anyway, thought that was kind of funny.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, that was good.
and and Roman Reigns talks about he doesn't like his position right now. He doesn't like where he's at, but he still claims that hey, that group, the midline, not speaking hypothetically, but Solo and them, they're the twos, and we're still the ones. And Jimmy Uso's like, we're really not though.
Did he call him the midline? I
No,
missed
he
that
didn't.
if he
No,
did.
he didn't.
Oh, that would
No,
have been awesome though
that
if
would
he
have been
did.
funny if he did. No, but he did not. I know a lot of people
Okay.
called them the midline, other fans and such, but no, he did not.
Okay, okay,
But
gotcha.
pretty much like his promo was speaking
Right.
about pretty much Solo and his said
Yeah.
faction, but no, he did not call them that. No. But he does acknowledge like, hey, even though we're still the ones on SmackDown, but Jimmy Uso's like, but we're really not. I mean, let's face it here, Us. Like, you know, you will forever be my tribal chief, but let's cut to the chase. Like, I'm the only one right now that is even acknowledging you. And that
Hmm.
mic drop, Jimmy Uso leaves the ring, and Roman Reigns is kind of just left in like distraught. Like, did he really just say that? Like, shoot, he might be right. So that little cliffhanger of a mic drop I thought was really good because I mean, over the course of 4 years, man, Roman Reigns has upset a lot of people from people who he's feud against, and even people that he has
His
been
family.
teamed against, his family. And Jimmy is right now the only person left. Jimmy talked about also, listen, I know one person that could really help us to fend off Solo in this group. And you hear all the yeet chants going on, and we knew we can put two and two together. And Roman Reigns just is like, no yeet. He's like, I don't want no part of I don't want part of no of Jey Uso. Of course, the same dude that pinned him at Money in the Bank in that Bloodline Civil War matchup, that tag matchup a year or so ago. So obviously, there's this really true like just friction still with Jey Uso and how he departed from the bloodline, and Roman Reigns hasn't forgotten about that. And Jimmy's like, come on, dude, like we're gonna need him, man. Like trust, like listen, I can call him up right now. Like we need him. If and that's a big quote, by the way, as we get to the ending segment, is like we need as much help right now as we can get. So what are your takes about it, Brian? I'll kind of go more in depth with it as well as the closing segment, but what are your thoughts with Jimmy and Roman Reigns starting off the show?
I mean, I like the start of the show. I have no issues with it. I guess we're going to get into later on, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. We'll
Yeah.
get to,
Okay.
the
Yeah.
main
The
event
start
was,
of the show. Yeah. The start of the show. Yeah. Obviously, we're all waiting for Jay to come back. And look, like I said, whether he's still going to be the IC title or the IC champion, and you still continue that as well, as just proof of this past Friday, you're just bringing people over from Raw just fucking because fucking Crown Jewel. If you don't
right.
fucking get Jay over there on SmackDown, like what the fuck, dude?
Right.
Like, you
Right.
know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah. For
yeah.
real.
Yeah, I mean that's my take. We all know we're waiting for that. A Jay to come back and also Heyman.
Paul Heyman
So
too. Yeah.
yeah, so
Absolutely.
I think it was a decent start.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll go more in depth with it, but let's go into this closing segment and then we'll wrap up the show here. So Solo Sikoa was in a match with Jimmy Uso. Solo Sikoa ends up winning this match. Of course, the numbers game catching up to Jimmy Uso, ends up doing a little bit of a beatdown afterwards after the matchup. Roman Reigns ends up coming out, trying to defend off this said group, but to no avail. Solo hits the Samoan spike to Roman Reigns. Both men, both Jimmy and Roman, are laid out. The rest of the bloodline walk up the rampway, holding up their ones. And Jimmy, before the show goes off the air, states, "We need help, Oos. We need help." And that's pretty much solidifying that the OG bloodline. This is the beginning stages of that reunion with
Yeah,
Jimmy, maybe Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn would also be the only other option if you're not bringing another said family member
right.
in. That honestly makes sense. So,
Yep.
and like you said, Brian, the fact that they're already meshing in Raw superstars onto the show, there's no reason why we can't do the similar thing now with Jay and with Sammy, because there is history there.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, all of it's tremendous, man. Obviously, Solo. Here's where I have my critiques about it. Number one, obviously Solo has to start winning matches because obviously we've talked about Solo and this losing streak, right? You have to put him on a certain type of winning streak here.
Right.
But number two, it's like Jimmy just came back and you're putting him in this losing scenario. It's just the match felt rushed to where like Jimmy Uso's first night back and he's already having this matchup with Solo.
Yeah, I didn't think that would happen so quickly.
Yeah, because I don't even think it was
You figured he'd start with like fucking
Tamatonga.
anybody else.
Right,
Yeah.
Tamatonga
Right.
somebody. The match
Yeah.
just felt very rushed, to where the match just didn't make sense for Jimmy Uso's sake. So that's number one. And number two, as good as everything was, right? I love how they are hinting that the OG bloodline is coming back. This is the beginning stages of bringing that said team back. And of course, there's going to be some friction still, maybe with Jey Uso as well as with Roman, and maybe Jimmy being the peacemaker out of all of it. But the one thing, Brian, that I don't understand, and I made a post about this, there was no acknowledgement of The Rock. None, which
Yeah.
was very weird. And The Rock has stated, and there was, again, another report is that we're not going to see The Rock until 2025. But still, he was the legit ending, the climactic moment to end Bad Blood. For Jimmy, again, he didn't even need to be a part of the show, but for Jimmy or Roman to not even acknowledge The Rock or his presence from last week is also
Right.
very weird. To kind of just like, oh, it's water underneath the bridge. Like The Rock wasn't even there. Like he never made an appearance. It was just I thought that was a very missed opportunity there to really maybe gain a little bit of spark to where when The Rock does make an appearance on WWE TV, it was that much more meaningful because he was acknowledged, no pun intended. But so the match itself I thought was odd and it was rushed, and no acknowledgement or mentioning of The Rock I also thought was a big missed opportunity. Outside of that, this SmackDown was a show that was better than most, to where SmackDown lately has been very just underwhelming, again, with the lack of heels and the lack of just everything that's kind of been middle tier for the most part. But now with Kevin Owens and Orton in this situation, now you're finally starting to gear up Roman Reigns, Jimmy Uso, and the Bloodline, and potentially War Games for Survivor Series. things are finally maybe starting to heat up finally. And we'll see where it goes, man. Bryan, your final takes on the bloodline and this show as a whole.
Yeah, I definitely do think the biggest, I don't know, the odd thing about it was, yeah, there was no mention of The Rock. Because I thought, like I said, I think even in when I went solo, like, yeah, he's not going to be there every week, or even, he's going to be there sporadically. But I was expecting him to see him this,
Right.
Friday, considering he was just coming off Bad Blood.
Mm-hmm.
So, or was it? Yeah,
Yeah,
Bad
Bad
Blood.
Blood. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I was expecting to see him, this Friday. So, but yeah, not to mention anything, that's odd.
Yes, weird.
And another thing, I just, and maybe this is just me reading too much into it, or just, I don't know, the whole presentation of Roman since he's come back, right? Like, and I know he's coming back his face now, and him and Jimmy are outnumbered. So,
Mm-hmm.
he's going to get the beat down and everything. But
Yeah.
so far, like, I don't know, there's times like where he hasn't felt like, and maybe that's what they're trying to do. Like what Jimmy was saying, like, nobody's with us. And, Roman's now
Yeah.
trying to regain his confidence. Maybe that's what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
But then also at other times, like when Roman was running down to the ring, this, maybe it's just because it was Fatu. I mean, he took out Fatu with one Superman punch on the way to the ring, and I just thought
Mm-hmm.
that was kind of. I mean, Fatu got back up eventually,
Yeah.
but I just think that was like a not a wasted opportunity, but like, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, because like Fatu and Roman is going to be a marquee matchup, right? And I don't know, just the way the things have happened, it's, I don't know, kind of confusing. Like, is Roman, kind of questioning himself and weak, or is he out there knocking dudes out? Is
Mm-hmm.
Fatu a fucking savage, or is he getting taken out with one punch?
Mm-hmm.
That it's those kind of things.
That's fair. Yeah.
But like other than that, yeah, it's, look, I mean, the bloodline story, is still, as many questions as we have of how it's going to play out. It's still one of the most intriguing, stories in all of wrestling. So,
Yeah.
um, it's almost that one thing with so many people involved, and because it is The Rock and Roman, and even Jimmy and Jay, who have decades of experience. This story is going to be handled well and executed well, through the entirety of it. I think, there may be hiccups along the way, but all in all, this this has been a great fucking story for over 4 years. So
Yeah. For sure. I mean, no doubt it's definitely had it's had its massive hiccups for sure throughout this 4-year journey to where we've talked about Jey Uso and Roman Reigns and that whole
right,
turn with Jimmy. We've talked about how just Solo's booking and him being the new said tribal chief and
right,
all of it, man. It's just, but whether we like it or not, man, this story has been legit the focal point of this company and for the last 4 years, and it has its really good moments. I think still to this day, the Sami Zayn turn at Royal Rumble is still one of the best moments in this bloodline story, to where
yeah,
that's why I mentioned like Sami Zayn has to
right,
be a part of this at this point, to where he lost his world title match against Gunther, to where like what else is Sami Zayn going to do? He's going to fiddle
sure,
around the mid card? Like what? No, you put him in this situation with the bloodline because it just fits, and it just makes the most sense. You bring the original OG bloodline. You got Roman, you got Jimmy, you got Jay, and you got Sammy, and then you got Solo, you got Jacob Fatu, you got Gorillas of Destiny, and there you
yeah,
go. There's your War Games matchup. So we'll see. But again, this show for SmackDown was definitely better than most. This definitely at times piqued my interest than a lot of other SmackDowns in the past. considering now that we have this Orton and Kevin Owens angle. Still a lot of work needs to be done with the women's division as well as the mid-card division as well. But overall, man, this was decent. And I know Roman Reigns is supposed to be on the show over the next several weeks, which is great because I'll be honest with you, if Roman Reigns is not on the show, there's not much of a pulse. I'm just going to be completely honest with you.
Yeah. So last night or this past Friday was the first one of like 6 weeks in a row or something like that?
Correct. Yes. So I believe he's going to be on the show for the next several weeks. Yes. 5, maybe 6 weeks, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
But yeah, because Roman Reigns needs to be on this show, man.
Yep.
Without Roman Reigns on this show, it's a massive detriment to the show if Roman Reigns is not on it. You need Roman Reigns on the show, and leading into War Games, which I'm sure he's going to be a part of, you need him on this fucking show. So that in of itself is what amplifies SmackDown as a whole, and hopefully that continues moving forward. So a lot of interesting things, a lot could go wrong, a lot can go bad. So we got this whole crown jewel situation, which is fucking weird, but we'll see how it all plays out, I guess. So, but thank you guys so much for tuning in to another edition of the Ruthless Talk podcast. I'm not going to sit here and guarantee that me and Bryan will be on the show back together again for following Thursday, because again, I don't know in regards to our personal lives what's going to go on, but things will definitely continue to go back to normal as we do get closer to Survivor Series as well as WrestleMania season coming into 2025. But thank you guys again for joining us. Again, make sure you guys follow us on social media. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok. That is Ruthless_Talk. Make sure you guys check us out in our podcast. We are available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and on YouTube. If you are watching this on YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. We're very close to 250 subscribers. Want to thank everybody for subscribing. Thank you guys for liking, commenting, and all that fun stuff. And of course, we will talk about Monday Night Raw and seeing where things transpire over there. When we do have time, I'm sure me and Bryan will definitely get caught up on WrestleDream and seeing where things unfold. I'm sure a lot more of AEW will be discussed over the next several days. And, of course, we got Full Gear. We got Crown Jewel, which we will, I'm sure, talk about moving into November and throughout the holiday season. And more content,
and then
more
Survivor
pro wrestling.
Series, baby.
And then there's Survivor Series, man. That's the bread and butter right there.
Yeah.
And this War Games matchup with the Bloodline and everything else, what Orton's going to do, what KO is going to do, as well as for CM Punk and seeing where he goes. I know he's going to be taking some time off after that grueling match with Hell in a Cell, where Drew McIntyre goes now. So we'll see how that all unfolds. So more content to come, man, as I always say. Bryan, final thoughts before we end this show.
Hey, man, glad to be back with you today, man. We could both catch up and do the show together. Thanks everybody again, as always, man, for subscribing, sharing, liking, watching, spreading the word however you can, man. I appreciate y'all.
Absolutely.
And, I don't know. I don't know what else to say except stay fresh, cheese bags.
That's right. And go Mets. Go Mets, as they got
Yankees,
a big game tonight.
Mets, Yankees, Subway Series.
I want it, dude.
Looking forward to it.
Inject that
into
into
fucking Dodgers and Cleveland out of here.
Inject that into my veins, bro. Give me Yankees and give me a Mets World Series, bro. Let's fucking make it happen, man. We'll see.
Yeah, man.
That is going to do it
tonight, man. Go Mets.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That is going to do it for today's episode, everybody. My name is James Porcelli.
I'm Bryan Thomas.
Until next time, there will be a next time. Stay fresh, cheese bags. Salutes. Peace out.
Peace
and
out.
Take care, everybody. Top guys, out.